In the heart of the village of Luku, where the earth was rich and the air smelled of burning wood and palm wine, there lived a man named Okoli. He was not just any man. Okoli was a kind of man who walked softly but carried weight in every word he spoke. His house stood at the edge of the village, large but humble, wrapped in flowering vines and shaded by an ancient udala tree. Children stopped playing when he passed, bowing their heads in respect. Women greeted him with soft smiles, and elders often said, if Luku had a son worth offering to the gods, it would be Okoli. But it wasn't his wealth that earned him such reverence. It was the way he gave without boasting, the way he greeted even the poorest man with dignity. He had built wells when others argued, repaired roofs after storms, and shared food during the harsh dry seasons. And then there was Nnenna. Nnenna was a kind of beauty that made people go quiet when she entered a room. She was soft-spoken, yet her eyes held something fierce, like someone who had loved too deeply before and learned to guard the flame. She and Okoli had loved each other since they were children chasing goats in the cassava fields. Everyone in Luku believed they were destined to marry. But tradition can be cruel, especially in a village that feared its own history. Okoli's family, though now respected, had once been cursed. A story older than any living elder whispered that one of Okoli's ancestors broke a sacred vow with a river goddess. Because of that, the women who married into his line died young. Whether out of fear or stubborn belief, Nnenna's family forbade her from marrying him. Still, love is like smoke. You can't contain it with mere hands. Nnenna and Okoli continued to see each other in secret. Sometimes at the stream where the moonlight danced on the water, sometimes in the forest under pretense of gathering herbs. They whispered dreams and made promises that defied every warning. One evening, during the Festival of Echoes, a night when drums filled the air and people wore masks to chase away evil spirits, Nnenna danced with Okoli in front of the village square. It was the first time they made their love public, and though many clapped and cheered, a few elders exchanged worried glances. That same night, Nnenna collapsed. It began with a fainting spell, then fever, then silence. The village healer came and left shaking his head. The priestess refused to enter her room, saying only, "Something old has been stirred." Okoli stayed by her side, his hands trembling as he wiped her face with a damp cloth. He begged. He prayed. He promised the gods anything if they would only spare her. But before the third moon rose, Nnenna died. The village mourned. Or at least, they pretended to. Some said it was inevitable, that the curse had finally claimed her. Others said it was punishment for dancing in defiance of the elders' warning. Okoli did not speak. He stood at the edge of a burial, fists clenched, eyes hollow. When the last handful of red earth was thrown on her grave, he remained behind, staring at the mound like it might open up and return her. They tried to pull him away. His uncle spoke soft words. A childhood friend placed a hand on his shoulder. But Okoli didn't move. He stayed there long after the sun fell, and the crickets began to sing. The next morning, something strange happened. When the grave digger came back to mark the burial site with stones, he froze. The grave, Nnenna's grave, was empty. The earth looked freshly disturbed. The white burial cloth was gone. Only a single red bead from Nnenna's anklet remained, half buried in the soil. Panic rose like smoke. The villagers gathered, some crying witchcraft, others whispering that the river goddess had claimed her fully. The priestess warned everyone to stay away from Okoli's compound until the gods gave direction. But Okoli, he didn't explain. He simply returned to his house, locked the gate, and spoke to no one. Days passed, then weeks. Servants who had worked for him for years began to resign. They said he had become strange. They heard him talking at night. They saw shadows through the window, 2 figures instead of one. He stopped coming to the market. His fields grew wild. Even the udala tree that shaded his compound began to lose its leaves in the dry season, long before its time. When an old hunter decided to peek through the gap in Okoli's window one night, what he saw made him stagger backward and run without his sandals. He said he saw Okoli sitting beside Nnenna's body, dressed in white lace, her hair combed and oiled, her hands resting neatly on her chest like a bride waiting for morning. The room was lit by candles, and Okoli was singing to her. They laughed at the old man at first, until more rumors followed. The fish seller who walked past the compound swore she heard a woman crying. A boy looking for his goat said he saw a figure in white sweeping the yard. A drunk man claimed the air around Okoli's house smelled like flowers and death. The whispers grew louder, but no one dared confront him. Not yet. And through it all, Okoli never said a word. But the eyes of Luku had begun to turn from admiration to fear. The rains came late that year in Luku. The skies stayed dry and pale, as though even the clouds were afraid to weep. Inside Okoli's compound, time had stopped. His gates remained shut, his courtyard unkempt. The once vibrant laughter of workers and the clang of mortar and pestle had vanished. In their place, silence hovered, heavy, watchful, unnatural. Children no longer dared to chase each other past his fence. Market women stopped speaking when they approached that stretch of road. Even the village dogs, known for their reckless courage, crossed to the other side when near his gate. It was a fish seller's daughter who said it first. She whispered it to a friend in the dark corner of the stream. Auntie Nnenna's spirit still lives there. Her friend laughed nervously, but said nothing, because deep inside, everyone feared it might be true. Okoli was still seen sometimes. Late at night, a flicker of lamplight behind his window, a dark silhouette moving through the courtyard. Once, an elder swore he heard music, a soft, humming tune from a time long gone, a love song, sung by Nnenna when she fetched water as a teenager. How could Okoli remember it, unless she was still there to remind him? Rumors became stories, stories became warnings, and warnings became law in Luku. Do not look too long at his house, the priestess warned. The dead do not like to be watched. The council of elders, once fond of Okoli, now met in secret. They spoke in low tones, debating what must be done. Some argued for patience, others for confrontation. But no one, not even the bravest hunter, wanted to be the first to knock on his gate. Then the incident happened. A small boy named Obinna went missing. His mother had sent him to fetch firewood near the mango grove that bordered Okoli's land. He never returned. The entire village searched. They combed the paths, checked wells, questioned strangers. But the boy was gone, and near the edge of Okoli's compound wall, half buried in dry soil, they found a sandal, Obinna's sandal, torn, damp with something too dark to be water. Panic surged, grief turned into anger, and all eyes turned to Okoli. The villagers stormed the square, demanding answers. Women wailed, men shouted. Children clung to their mothers. The priestess was summoned, her face tight with worry. She did not ask for calm. She simply raised her staff and said, "Tonight, we go together." That evening, with burning torches in their hands and fear in their hearts, the villagers gathered at Okoli's gate. They called his name once. No answer. They called again. The wind replied with a low groan, shaking the branches of a udala tree. The third time, the gate creaked open on its own. Inside, the compound was clean. Too clean. The leaves had been swept. The flowers watered. Incense burned from clay bowls placed at the four corners. The villagers stepped in, slowly, their feet hesitant, hearts pounding. Okoli stood in the doorway of his house. He looked thinner, older, but calm. He wore a white wrapper tied neatly around his waist and no shirt. His eyes were not wild. They were empty. "You came," he said softly. "She told me you would." The crowd murmured. Some stepped back. The priestess nnmoved forward. "Where's the boy, Okoli?" she asked. Okoli tilted his head. "What boy?" "Nnenna," she said. "The one who vanished near your compound." "I've seen no boy," he replied. "Only her." "Who?" He smiled then, not a warm smile, a broken one. "Nnenna." The priestess gripped her staff tighter. "She is gone, Okoli. You must accept it." "No," he said, shaking his head slowly. "She never left. You buried her body, not her spirit. She still sleeps beside me. She speaks to me. She remembers everything." Gasps erupted from the crowd. Some began to chant prayers under their breath. Others gripped charms and amulets close to their chests. "Let us see her," the priestess said. Okoli did not resist. He turned and walked into his house, barefoot on the cold floor. The priestess followed, with a few brave men at her side. Inside the room, it was cold. Not the cold of breeze or storm, but a still, unnatural cold that settled in the bones. At the center of the room was a bed. On it lay Nnenna. Her body had not decayed like it should have. Her skin was pale, waxy, her eyes closed. Her hair, braided freshly, smelled of jasmine. She wore the white blouse she had dyed in, now adorned with beads and sacred markings drawn in charcoal. Her hands were folded across her chest, holding a dried flower. The priestess whispered, "What have you done?" Okoli knelt beside the body. She asked me not to let go. She begged not to be buried in silence. So I went to the forest shrine. I offered what they asked. A goat, my blood, my voice. "You performed a ritual," the priestess cried. "She is mine," Okoli said, tears falling freely now. "I couldn't let her go." "You've trapped her spirit," she said. "You've called her soul into a corpse." "She's not angry," he said. "She smiles at me every night before I sleep." A low, humming sound filled the room. It was faint, soft, almost a lullaby. Some swore it came from Nnenna's lips. The priestess turned, rushing the others out. Outside, she faced the crowd. Her voice was firm. "Okoli has performed a forbidden rite. He has tied the spirit of the dead to the body through blood and vow. This is not love. This is darkness." "But what of the boy?" someone shouted. "I do not know," she replied. "But the curse is now on this land. We must act." "What should we do?" Her voice lowered. "We return tomorrow with fire." As the crowd dispersed into the night, casting uneasy glances over their shoulders, Okoli sat beside Nnenna once again. He kissed her cold forehead, whispered her favorite song, and curled beside her under the white cloth. Outside, the wind wept, and Luku prepared for war against one of its own. The sky over Luku darkened before sunset, not from rain or cloud, but from something heavier. The birds stopped singing. The trees stopped swaying. It was as if nature itself held its breath. Inside the shrine, the priestess knelt before the sacred stone, her fingers tracing old symbols in ash. Her voice, once steady, now cracked with urgency as she prayed. "Great Mother, silence the curse. Guide our hands before love becomes ruin." She had seen this before. Long ago, when she was just a girl hidden in her mother's hut, watching a different man lose himself to forbidden love. He too had tried to hold on to the dead, and the gods had burned his house to the ground, with him in it. But Okoli had gone further. He had not just preserved the body. He had made a home for a spirit, a vessel, and vessels must be fed. That night, Luku did not sleep. Torches were lit. Drums were silenced. Every mother held her children close. The elders sharpened their staffs. The hunters tied red cloth around their wrists for protection. A decision had been made. Okoli's ritual must be undone, by force if necessary. Before dawn, the priestess stood at the center of the square. She wore a red wrapper, her face smeared with white chalk, her eyes like stone. "We do not go to kill a man," she said. "We go to release a soul, and to stop the hunger he has called into our land." They moved as one. The villagers, the elders, the drummers, even the children watched from rooftops as a procession approached Okoli's gate. He was waiting. He stood alone in the courtyard, the morning mist curling around his bare feet. In his arms was Nnenna, her body draped in white silk, her head resting against his shoulder like a sleeping child. Her skin looked colder now. The scent of decay hung faintly in the air. "She asked me to bring her out," he said gently. "She wanted you to see. She wanted you to remember her face before you bone her." The villagers stopped in their tracks. For a moment, silence reigned. Then the priestess stepped forward. "Okoli, we do this not in hatred, but in sorrow. This is not your Nnenna anymore. She is more herself now than she ever was in life," he whispered. "She tells me things, secrets a living could never understand." "What kind of secrets?" Okoli's eyes glistened. "She knows the name of the one who took the boy." A gasp rippled through the crowd. "She told me the boy wandered too close. He saw her face through the window. The spirit in her, it panicked. It needed to feed to survive. She didn't want to, but the thing inside her needed youth. Innocence." The priestess's voice shook. "You brought this hunger. Okoli, through your love, you opened the gate." "I thought I was saving her," he said, voice trembling. "But I was only digging a deeper grave." He laid Nnenna gently on the ground, as if placing her in a cradle. Then he raised both hands in surrender. "Do what must be done," he said, "but let me stay beside her." The priestess hesitated, then nodded. The villagers formed a circle. They began to chant. The drummers started with a slow beat, rising with each verse. The flames from the torches danced wildly. The air pulsed with power. The priestess poured palm oil in a wide circle around the corpse. She sprinkled powdered chalk and kola nut, murmuring the ancient unbinding prayer. Then she reached for the final item, a bundle of dried herbs soaked in blood. As the flames were lit around the circle, Nnenna's body began to twitch. First her fingers, then her head turned slightly. Her lips parted, though no sound came. Some villagers screamed. Others dropped their torches and fled. But the priestess stood firm. "Spirit of the night, you are not welcome here. Leave the body you do not own. Return to the land of the silent." Okoli fell to his knees. "Nnenna, fight it. If you can hear me, let go." Her eyes opened. They were black, deep, hollow, endless. The thing inside her hissed, a sound that felt like ice down the spine. Her hand shot out, grasping blindly, reaching for Okoli. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have let you rest." The priestess threw the bundle into the flames. The fire roared, turning blue, then white. The wind howled through the trees. Nnenna's body convulsed. Then it stopped. Stillness. Smoke rose from her chest, forming the faint outline of a face both beautiful and sorrowful. "Nnenna." She looked at Okoli, and for the briefest moment, her old self returned. Her eyes softened. Her lips moved soundlessly, mouthing, "Thank you." Then she vanished. The fire died. The villagers stood in stunned silence. Only ash remained. Okoli rose slowly, his face stained with tears and soot. He walked forward, scooping some of the ash into his hands. He held it like treasure, like something more valuable than all his wealth. The priestess touched his shoulder. "It is done." "No," he said quietly. "Now, I am truly alone." And with that, Okoli walked back into his house. He never came out again. The village of Luku recovered. Slowly, the mango grove grew quiet again. Children laughed once more. But Okoli's house remained untouched, its gate closed forever. Some say his shadow still moved behind the curtains at dusk. Others say he speaks to her through dreams. But no one enters, and no one forgets. Because in Luku, they now say, when love defies death, death learns to speak. Years passed, but the house at the edge of Luku never changed. The udala tree still dropped its fruit beside the gate, but no one picked them. The wind still whistled through the compound cracks, but no one answered. The villagers walked faster whenever they passed that road, and children were warned not to point toward the building, lest the spirit take interest in you. No one saw Okoli again. Not truly. Some claimed they saw a figure sitting in the courtyard at dawn, head bowed, holding something that shimmered like ash. Others said they heard a man talking softly to no one, reciting lullabies in the dead of night. What no one could deny was this: Luku had changed. The mango trees bore smaller fruit. The river slowed and turned a darker shade. A heaviness lay over the village like a thick cloth. Joy returned, but never fully. It was as though the land remembered what had happened and had no intention of forgetting. One day, a group of travelers entered the village. They were scholars from the city, dressed in long coats and speaking strange English. They came with notebooks and cameras, eager to document the haunted village they had heard about. They asked questions, took photos, even tried to bribe children to lead them to the compound. But no one dared. The priestess, now older and more fragile, summoned the council. She warned them, "Do not let outsiders touch what we sealed. Curiosity has a price." But the scholars were determined. One morning, before the cock crowed, they broke the lock on Okoli's gate and slipped inside. They did not return. Hours passed, then a whole day. At sunset, a hunter named Udo was sent to check. He carried charms, a machete, and a flask of palm spirit to steady his heart. When he entered the compound, everything was silent, too silent. The flowers were still alive, as if someone watered them. The ground was swept. The door to the house was open. Udo stepped inside, and there, in the center of a room, were the scholars, all three of them, sitting motionless, eyes wide open, faces frozen in horror. They were alive, but not truly. They did not speak. They did not blink. They simply sat, as if they had seen something the mind could not hold. On the wall behind them, someone, or something, had written with charcoal, "She never sleeps without him." Udo stumbled back. He did not scream. He did not fight. He simply ran. And from that day forward, no one ever tried to enter the house again. The priestess called a gathering. Everyone came, old and young, believers and skeptics. She stood with a heavy heart and declared, "We tried to fix what was broken, but some wounds leave scars that no ritual can erase." She asked for silence, for respect, for distance, and so it became law. No one must ever open that gate again. But even laws wear thin over time. Decades passed. A new generation rose, one that didn't feel the same fear. They had not seen Nnenna's body. They had not heard her spirits hiss or witnessed Okoli's descent into sorrow. One such boy was Emeka. Bold, rebellious, curious. He had grown up hearing the stories of Okoli and the bride who never left. To him, it was just folklore, a tale to make children behave. He didn't believe in curses or spirits. And on his 21st birthday, drunk with palm wine and pride, he made a bet. "I will spend one night in the house," he said, laughing. "If I survive, you all owe me a goat." The elders begged him to stop. His mother cried, but Emeka was already walking away. That night, under a pale moon, he climbed the wall and disappeared into the yard. He did not scream. He did not cry. But by morning, when they found him slumped by the udala tree, his hair had turned white. His lips were sealed tight, and in his arms, he cradled a piece of white cloth wrapped around ashes. He never spoke again. The house at the edge of Luku still stands. They say if you pass by just before dawn, you can hear soft singing from inside, a lullaby. And if you're foolish enough to stop and listen, you'll hear two voices, one male, one female, in harmony, because Okoli never left her, and Nnenna never let go. And together they remain, trapped between love and death, bound by a promise that should never have been made. So the next time you hear a story that sounds too strange to be true, remember, every village has a secret. And sometimes secrets bury themselves, but not deeply enough. Before you go, remember, if this chilling tale moved you, shocked you, or kept you listening all the way through, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable African folk tales like this one. There's always another mystery waiting to be told. And who knows, the next story might be about your village.